we do another voting question first?
Sure.
Yeah,
You're all
let's
set?
do that.
Okay.
Okay, in case you don't know it yet, you have a little voting device attached to your seat. And in a moment, I will ask you a question, give you 3 options. And there it is. And you pick one when I say, please vote now. Okay, so does artificial intelligence make tourism companies more productive? 1, yes. 2, to some degree. Or 3, no. Please vote now. Do you have an answer again? What the vote will be?
There's no debate.
There's no debate.
No. But it's more important, not more productive, solving more problems for customers, I would say. I'm not sure what's going on
It's a little hard to tell, isn't it?
But if you go by the blue bar, the answer is subtracting. 60% said yes.
60% said yes?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's clear. And that was your good guess?
Yes.
Of course. Well
let's see what the experts say.
Have a nice panel.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome back. We're going to focus on artificial intelligence and machine learning and making it relevant to travel and tourism companies, even if you're small. That's the objective today. And I have 2 great speakers. One is going to do a big picture that's many industry-wide, and then we're going to have a great opportunity of specific examples, sort of a live case study on how AI works in the travel industry. So, everybody ready? Our first speaker has a storied career, augmented by being a professional photographer all along. After 12 years at IBM, what was it, a blue suit, a white shirt, and a red tie every day? And different capacities there. He's also had several positions in technology consulting, and then he moved on to some technology operating roles and doing technology research for Gartner. Now the chief analytics evangelist for EMEA for SAP. Please welcome Mr. Andreas Bitter.
Good afternoon, everyone. That's not me. Let's see. Anyway, yes, I am a evangelist. I'm not a very religious person, so it has nothing to do with religion. As an evangelist, you typically tell stories. I'm a storyteller. As Philip just said, I used to be an analyst. I'm also a futurist. So I guess I have to be something like a something-ist all the time. And I'm also a pianist, so there you go. Yeah, I was asked to fill in for my colleague Marc Teerlink, who was actually supposed to be here, but he couldn't because he had a medical emergency in the family. So I'm in Marc's team. So we're working together in SAP in the greater scheme of things in Leonardo, SAP Leonardo. I'll talk about this in a minute. I was asked also to talk about what the technology kind of enables us to do these days. I've been a technologist for all my life, today we can do things that we have not been able to do. We were dreaming about these things. Artificial intelligence is one of these topics. It's not new. In fact, when I was in university, I studied computer science in Darmstadt. We did artificial intelligence, but this was more like children's television, if you want. We had 286s, Intel chips, and we had no memory, and now we actually can do really serious stuff with it. So let's talk about what's happening, what we can do. Obviously, the robots are taking over. We all know that. Artificial intelligence is plugged into some of these things. Can you do that? So the first time that big backflip really didn't work so well. Try it again, learned something, and stood. The third time, it did it. Now, this robot was not programmed. This robot was only told to stand and then figure out how to do that with all the hydraulics and all the pumps and valves and whatever is in this kind of machine. So this is based on a machine learning algorithm in the brain, if you want, of this thing, right? Looks like a man, obviously, so we're trying to picture these things as if they were looking like we do. But again, this is based on artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, if you will, basically just training a system to have this kind of outcome. Now, there's a guy, you know him, Elon Musk. He knows something about the future, a lot more than I do. Obviously, also a guy who knows something about travel, especially space travel. He sends cars into space because he can. So he was not very impressed by that. He says, well, I mean, this is nothing. Well, in a few years, this will be as fast as a stroke of a flash. So obviously, talking about Elon Musk and travel and intelligence and machine learning, you know Tesla. This is the Tesla autopilot. And you see here, there's a driver. Actually, it's not a driver. He doesn't drive anything. He just sits there. I think he's there for insurance purposes. That's it. So, and you see the machine that just happens to look like a car driving into the city somewhere in the US, learning along the way. So you see all these various sensors, you see these cameras, you see all the input coming in from the surroundings in terms of what other elements are out there, what other objects, in-path objects are there, and learning from that. At the same time, this car sends all this information about the surroundings, road conditions, weather conditions, traffic conditions, back up to Tesla headquarters. And then Tesla turns around and sends it to all the other cars, which means that the car is actually becoming a better car while we're driving. So we are learning from all the other vehicles that are actually on the road. So this means that this car is driving on the road and knows exactly how it's going to look like, even though it has never been there. So a machine learning exercise really par excellence, because it's really all about the experience becoming a better product while you're actually using the product. Which means that we're not teaching this car new tricks, the car learns automatically. Think about your product. Does your product get better over time? So I think that's the key here, because it's all about the experience. And it really worked well for Tesla. If you compare Tesla to another car manufacturer like General Motors, General Motors is about 51 billion in market cap in 2016. And it sells about 10 million cars. Tesla doesn't even sell 1% of the amount of cars and has now overtaken GM in market cap, which means that the consumer, the buyer, the market believes that Tesla has a much better story in the long term. Why? Because Tesla has the better experience for the driver or for the passenger or for the user of the car. So think about your products and your services. How does the user experience the interaction with your website, with your product, or with your service? Because at the end of the day, it's really all about the experience. How does the user, the supplier, the consumer experience your service or your product? Do they actually enjoy that? Do they find it cumbersome? Do they start swearing at the website just because it doesn't work the way it's supposed to be? So we believe that through artificial intelligence and machine learning, IoT, big data, all the kind of various information sources that are coming together, you're enabled to use these technologies to increase the value of your product over time. It learns by itself. You don't have to train it. It becomes a better machine, better service over time. Here at SAP, we use these technologies, very similar to what you know as Alexa or Siri or Cortana from Microsoft. Some of these home automation, some of these little boxes that you can kind of ask to run some music or tell you the news of the day. We call it Copilot, and the Copilot is sort of a bot, if you want, that you can interact with, and you can ask certain questions. This would be something very useful, for example, on certain travel websites. You can just talk to the machine. You don't have to type it. I believe that in particular voice recognition, natural language generation will be one of these key technologies going forward that really enables us to do totally new things, much more convenient and so on. So instead of asking, play me that Spotify playlist that I created to my Amazon Echo, I'm asking more business specific questions in terms of, does this order has been fulfilled, or do we have enough stock, or has this been paid, or something. And the machine understands what you're talking about. In this first example, did Acme pay that invoice last month? Now the machine needs to understand what you just said. So Acme is apparently some kind of a company or some kind of entity, and pay means okay, there was something sent, and now we actually sent an invoice, and now we need to figure out, was it actually paid to us? And last month, obviously, we know what date it is, and what kind of time frame that is. And now the system goes into the database and all the kind of transactions and try to find out, was this actually paid? So imagine that you are running a service or a website, and you can actually interact with your users on the technology that is actually enable them to kind of really interact without any person sort of in the back. So all these kind of co-pilot implementations really using machine learning and artificial intelligence in the back. There's a big misconception about AI. AI is not something that will take over the world, even though there's movies about that. AI is here not to enable new things. So we're not trying to think, let's do AI. What can we do something new? This is not about finding that AI algorithm that disrupts the world. AI is, for the most part, used to augment what we do. As an example, something that in the hospitality industry, people at the front desk, at the reception, I believe that the most asked question that they get is, what's the Wi-Fi password? And now they need to kind of do that again and answer that question again. Why are not any systems that I can actually go into a hotel, check in, and I get it all automatically? So it's really about augmenting tasks, not to replace humans. So that's something where we're looking at certain processes in organizations that says, okay, this is cumbersome, this is boring, this is something that I really don't want to do. And humans are typically either too expensive or too easily bored to do these things. Why not using an artificial intelligence algorithm to do that for us? I mean, that would free up the time and let the humans do something more intelligent rather than doing these repetitive tasks. Because all the organizations that we typically talk to are saying, we want to do a digital transformation. We want to become a more digital business. What does it mean? Many times they're saying, well, we want to be more the disruptor than a disruptee. Let me break that to you. You're not going to disrupt anything. For most of you, let's say. Maybe there is one person here in the room that really has this great idea where we're saying, okay, this is the next Uber or the next Netflix or the next even Amazon. People that, or organizations that really disrupted entire industries. Most of us are not in that position to disrupt the entire business. What we can do is we can certainly optimize the way we do. And I'm not saying that the digitalization or this kind of transformation are more of a defensive mechanism, but for the most part, you should much rather try to optimize the way you're doing business. And for that, artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, big data, some of these technologies are certainly enabling to do that. So in the end, it's really about creating value, not necessarily trying to disrupt your entire market. At SAP, we're using these technologies that I just mentioned in a thing that we call Leonardo. Leonardo is what we call an innovation system. It includes lots of different technologies from all walks of life, from analytics, and I'm originally more of an analytics guy, a data mining guy, to IoT, the Internet of Things, and then the whole thing about big data that is fed by sensor data, meteorological data, sociographics, demographics, these big data sources that are coming up everywhere. And then we plug these algorithms, these technologies into our own applications, such as Concur, for example, our travel site where we can book travel and hotels and do all the expense reports. And it's actually very convenient for us to do that because I don't even need to kind of type in anything anymore. It figures out all itself. That this is a hotel invoice and this is from the date, and just basically processes it automatically for me. So I'm a road warrior. I'm on the road all the time. So for me, this is a huge time saver because I don't have to claim these expenses by hand anymore. And so we're actually very bullish on some of these artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities. That's why we're plugging this into all the various applications. Concur is being one, Ariba is another one, success factors for human resources management, and so on. Bottom line, let really artificial intelligence really do more of the boring kind of stuff. Don't be afraid of it. I mean, obviously, you may need to have a certain set of skills. If you don't have the skills, there's a gazillion system integrators and consulting companies that can actually help you with that. From a Leonardo perspective, our suggestion is to do what we call design thinking workshops. Come up with this set of new ideas that you may have. Don't think that any of these AI kind of capabilities just fall into your lap. They won't. You need to actually spend some time with some consulting companies, and we're obviously offering our support with that, to actually come up with some of these new innovative ideas, how to actually streamline some of your internal processes. And then once you actually enable your internal processes, maybe in tiny baby steps, if you will, but automate some of those, and then that just frees up the important and expensive time of your resources, and that's certainly much bigger value. As a digital business, basically bottom line here, this is what we believe you should be thinking about. Intelligently connecting people, that could be your consumers, that could be employees, could be suppliers, things, that could be cars, vehicles, airplanes, trains, hotel rooms, whatever things these are, and certain businesses in a certain network. And there's a gazillion different technologies out there that you should be having on your radar. Anything from machine learning capabilities and data mining to integration, data quality, metadata, master data. There's a lot of things that you can do, and artificial intelligence is certainly one of these kind of key components that will enable you to kind of come to this kind of next level. You can see here on the slide here with mobility and design thinking, big data, IoT, more or less all the buzzwords that are kind of floating around the industry right now. We can only encourage you to not blend this away, because I mean these are really critical for any digital transformation project that you may have in the future. With that, I thank you very much. I have about 40 seconds left. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hand it back to Philip. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you very much. See you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have to do the backward flip now? Ready? Should I do it? I think it would take me about 100 times before I learned how to do it right, though. So, our next speaker, I have to say, I've known a very long time. I haven't said that with a lot of the speakers, but in this case, it's true. She is Harvard MBA, and she cut her teeth at Sabre for, I think, 12 years, having lots of different jobs. And maybe you didn't know, just like Expedia was incubated inside of Microsoft, it wasn't venture capital funded, Travelocity was incubated inside of Sabre. So the CTO of Sabre, Terry Jones, asked our speaker to move over to this new division of Travelocity, and I think was there another 12 or 13 years. But when Expedia bought Travelocity, she left, but she can't stay out of travel. And so now I'm pleased to introduce the CEO of one of the travel industry's leading AI firms, Wayblazer. Please meet its CEO, Noreen Henry.
Thanks. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you today on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is artificial intelligence in travel. We are experiencing some exciting times right now because AI is no longer a novelty, and travelers are actually expecting and depending upon AI tools to help them in their travel journey. Think about it. How many of you, for example, would be lost without having that AI in your pocket helping you explore different destinations whenever you travel? Or better yet, have any of you started to experience AI in your hotel room, commanding for the drapes to be opened, the lights to be dimmed, or the TV to be turned on? AI is the new UI, and it's enabling us to interact with our customers in new and unique ways. Travel companies are beginning to invest in AI in several different ways. I don't use all the buzzwords that Andy did, but they're using natural language, so whether that's voice or text, image recognition, as well as machine learning. And they're using these tools to be able to connect with customers to provide a more personalized experience, as well as reduce friction on their travel journey. Not only does this benefit the customer, but it's benefiting the businesses by driving true impact on bottom line results. So there are many different ways that travel companies are using AI. Today I'm going to focus specifically on the customer travel journey. So this is everything from the dreaming stage to the planning and booking stage to the ultimate on-site in-market experience. Now, my company, Wayblazer, focuses on helping brands in the dreaming and planning stage to better improve their engagement and conversion with customers. So I'll give you a case study there, but I'm also going to highlight many other examples that are happening across this journey. So let's start with the dreaming stage. So during this phase, the customer is starting to imagine that amazing vacation that they're going to take. Whether that be a family vacation with the kids, a weekend playing golf with your buddies, or that romantic getaway. During this stage, customers are looking for inspiration, and often they're going to the internet and social channels to get ideas about where to travel and what activities to do. So in this first use case that I'm going to talk about, this is work that Wayblazer did with Emirates Vacations, who was interested in engaging their customers during the streaming stage and leveraging AI to add intelligence to advertising. So Emirates Vacations, one of the places that they typically advertise is on Condé Nast. So in this example, somebody's on that site and they're reading about surfing in the Maldives. Typically, Emirates Vacations shows an ad like this on the right that encourages the user to click on the ad, link off, go to their site, and explore the different packages that they have to offer. In the project that we worked with them on, we replaced that ad with an AI chatbot so that the user could interact with Emirates packages and understand the content right there within that ad unit. The ad unit is powered by a sophisticated recommendation and merchandising engine that enables it to understand the shopper's intent, the campaign targeting signals, as well as the content that is on the publisher site. It uses this information to provide more personalized, relevant recommendations when the user is interacting with that ad. I'm going to show you a video of how this works because that'll explain it a whole lot better than me talking. But at the end of the day, this ad drove an 87% increase in engagement for Emirates Vacations. So in this example, a user is on People magazine, and they are reading about their favorite celebrity taking a vacation to the Maldives. They're reading the article, they see that they liked lounging in the sand, and they're inspired about this particular place. They see the chat button on the right, and they decide to engage and ask about a similar vacation. I'd like to go to the Maldives for my honeymoon, and I need an over-the-water bungalow hotel with scuba diving. They click chat, and immediately this information is sent to Emma, the chatbot. She understands what you requested, and she comes back with recommendations that are relevant to that particular request, all within this ad unit. The user can explore. They can look at the destinations. They can look at the images. They can read the reviews. Again, all this information is customized based on that user and their interaction. So while this drove increases in engagement for Emirates, it also increased the consumer's understanding of the product that Emirates had to offer, all while they're on that page. They did not have to link off. Emirates Vacations view this as an extension of their brand to let customers search their products at a time and place that was most relevant to them. And it helped them gain additional insight about that consumer. They now know that she's interested in taking a honeymoon, they know where she wants to go, and they have an idea of the types of activities that she wants to do. And let's face it, customers are interested in that type of personalized experience. According to Google, 57% of travelers want tailored information. They don't want to have the same recommendations that are sent to everybody. They want you to understand them and provide something that's personal. All right, now let's talk about the booking and planning stage of travel. So here you're going to see many different examples that AI is being used across the various channels that customers engage in. So let's start with the obvious on the messaging channels. So channels like Facebook, Slack, Skype, brands like Expedia, Booking.com, and Skyscanner are implementing chatbots in these messaging channels to not only address FAQs that customers might have, but help them with the booking, the searching and the booking aspects of travel. Now, while the messenger channels are early in the adoption stage with consumers for e-commerce, make no doubt about it, they are absolutely being adopted. Facebook in particular is investing pretty significantly in messaging for business. And there's some interesting early stats already. So on Facebook, there are 1.2 billion users per month that are generating over 1 billion messages that are being sent to businesses. That makes it the second most popular form of communication for customers that are interacting with brands. And of course, they are just getting started. Another channel where you're going to see AI activity is in the mobile channel. So IHG, for example, is investing in voice. This is one of my favorite quotes from Bill Keane, the VP of Mobile Solutions and Digital Experience, where he says, "Voice is sexy again." So IHG is one of our clients, and we're working with them to utilize voice to interact with the chatbot. So a user can ask about a particular hotel that they're interested in simply by using their voice. And again, personalized recommendations are going to come back to them. I also really like some of the activity that's going on in the email and calendar channels. So Hitmonk, for example, is able to read your email, able to read your calendar, and help proactively plan trips for you. I don't know about you, but I could absolutely use that assistance. While these are examples of how AI is being used in this stage that are pretty obvious examples, you have companies like Starware that are using AI behind the scenes. In this instance, they are using it to help them determine the right pricing to show to each user. So they're leveraging various different data sources from booking information, competitive pricing, even weather data to determine what is the most appropriate price to show to each particular user. The results is a 20% improvement in demand forecasting for them. So again, you're going to see AI help both the businesses and the consumers throughout this particular journey. So let's go on to the last stage of travel. This is the one I think is most exciting, where you're going to see some very innovative activities. So this is during the on-site experience or in-market experience that the customer has. There are a couple different companies that are playing in the area of predictive analytics. So this is being able to understand various data sources and through machine learning predict events that might happen. One example is with Google Flights. So think about it, one of the most stressful times on travel is when you leave your house and board that airplane and you're constantly trying to figure out, is my flight going to be delayed? Am I going to make my connection? Do I have to make adjustments in my travel plans? Google Flights is now analyzing historical data about flights and with 80% confidence able to predict if a flight is going to be delayed. Chances are you're going to get alerted by Google Flights before you get alerted by your airline that a delay may happen. This at least gives you the chance to be able to plan accordingly. Speaking of trying to address the issue of delayed flights, airlines are also investing in predictive maintenance. So they are able to use, again, historical information and machine learning to predict when an aircraft needs to go into maintenance, therefore avoiding delays due to cancellations or delays or cancellations due to maintenance issues. The end result is a 0.3 to 0.5% improvement in on-time performance for airlines that are leveraging this. Trains are also getting into the action. So companies like BusyBot and Trainline are using crowdsourcing data to be able to predict when trains are overcrowded and what section of the train you're most likely to be able to find a seat. So real-time data that is helping you real-time while you're in your journey. Facial recognition is also a pretty interesting technology that's being used by a lot of different airlines. Delta, for example, is starting to leverage this technology for baggage check-in. So they use the facial recognition to identify the person who is checking in the bag, compare that against your driver's license to make sure that they are one and the same. Similarly, JetBlue is also using this technology for passenger boarding. So they'll take a photo of the person who is boarding, compare that with the image that they have on file from your passport or visa to enable you to board that plane without having to show documentation. Lots of things to try and reduce the friction in travel. Airports are also getting into the action. So in this example, this is in Dubai. This is the identity tunnel that Dubai Airport is using to, again, identify the user who is walking through and help them get through security. Now, these are examples of how AI is being used while you are in transit to your destination. Once you get to your destination in your hotel, again, there are lots of ways that it is being used to enhance the guest experience, whether that be through texting and tweeting with your hotel, leveraging Edward, who is Radisson's chatbot that users are able to employ to do room service, or all of the devices in your hotel room that are internet enabled, whether that's the lights, the alarm clocks, the drapes, the TV, whatever can be enabled will be enabled and improve your stay while you're at that hotel. Now, when you're looking to explore the local culture while you're there, AI is also being used. And this is a place where Google is making great strides. So whether that's via Google Trips to help plan personalized activities for you, or leveraging Google Translate to, in real time, translate signs that you're seeing that are in a different language, or the voice that's being spoken to you. If you have not used this app yet, it is really cool. I highly recommend trying to use it. So that gives you a smattering of examples of how AI today is being used to improve that customer travel journey. It is all about reducing friction for the customer and driving business improvements for the companies. And to be honest, we are only scratching the surface. According to the director of research at Facebook, we've only seen about 5% of what AI can do. So lots of exciting times ahead. For those of you who are still trying to figure out how you get into AI or your next AI project, it's important to realize that AI is more than technology. In fact, AI is a pathway forward, a pathway to a new immersive customer experience that I think we in the travel industry have the ability to do and produce results for our customers that are far better than any other industry. In addition, it's a pathway to better performance for the brands that are embracing it. And the good news is this pathway has been blazed forward for you. There are AI tech startups that are focused on providing niche solutions that are driving real performance results for brands. And these companies are beginning to scale. Also, the big, large players are investing in AI, and they're creating tools that you can use, whether that be IBM, Microsoft, Salesforce, Amazon. You can leverage these tools to build custom solutions that address your specific needs. One of the things to consider, though, as you figure out the projects that you want to tackle, is how you're going to train the systems on the information that you need them to perform. AI is only as good as the data that it has been trained on. So how good is your data? What data will you use? Do you have good booking data? Do you have good FAQ data? All of that type of information can be fed into the systems to help teach it about the problem you want it to solve. Also, look at leveraging companies who have pre-trained graphs. So my company, for example, spent $10 million investing in developing our technology, which includes an AI travel graph. So this graph has learned everything about travel. It understands what makes a destination romantic, what makes a hotel family friendly, and this can be leveraged when customers do implementations. Where I think the real interest comes, though, in value is when we start to combine these different data sources in new ways. So think about combining public data with industry data, with corporate data. How about data that you have on a customer, social data, and the insights that you can gain? Once we're able to achieve that, then there is much more benefits that we can provide to the consumer across different brands. So think about ultimately what this does is it reduces the friction for the customer on their journey. So a customer who starts by dreaming about that amazing anniversary trip that they want to take ends up having a trip of a lifetime because every brand along that journey understood that user, what was unique to them, and they helped to provide a personalized experience based on what their trip intent and their preferences. That, to me, is where the power of AI can really take us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noreen. Please have a seat.
Great.
Andy, could I invite you to, that works,
Yeah.
join us?
All right. You don't want to go in the middle?
Okay. So how many in the audience are a lot smarter about AI and machine learning than 35 minutes ago? Most of you? I am. It's really helpful. So here's the big thing about one of the reasons I love to come to ITB is Emirates, Starwood, IHG, Amazon, SAP, Concur, Salesforce. They're big companies, Google, right? And a lot of people in this audience and walking through these amazing halls work for independent hotels. Maybe they run a tour or an attraction or an agent, some kind of agency or some kind of tour operator. So I could see from their perspective that they might be getting like kind of dejected. So both of you, how do we take all this great stuff and help everyday people in the travel industry figure out how to use it in their businesses? Because I love what you said, is your product getting better? So how do we help them get their products better? Anybody can go first.
Do you want to hit it or want me to?
Well, I can take a stab at it, so you fill in. We have sort of built an engagement model with our clients to find these nuggets, right? So as I said earlier, these AI solutions, they don't fall into people's lap. I mean, either you're trying to figure out what somebody else in the market has done and you just copy that. Now that is certainly not really innovation because, I mean, you did what somebody else has already tried, and so you're best case you're a follower, worst case you're like a laggard. So that's why we built this engagement model to find out what's specific to you or you as a business owner or business user. And that's what these design thinking kind of workshops are all about, to kind of have some blue sky thinking, exercises, brainstorming, trying to really figure out what's different for us, what these technologies can do for us. And that's typically the best way, as far as I'm concerned, to go forward.
You've been in the travel industry for as long as I have. How do we make it relevant for the everyday operator, owner, manager in travel and tourism?
So I think what's important is for these companies to figure out what are the problems that they want to solve. And there are many companies who are solving similar problems, and you can learn from them. And there are companies like my company that helps with specific, unique solutions. And these companies can leverage those learnings. Like for us, our travel graph, with every implementation we do, it gets smarter. So instead of developing something specific for yourself, if you're able to leverage a solution that you can benefit from everybody who has implemented it, then I think that helps you, advance and be able to jumpstart.
Do you think it's like in the early 90s, I was an evangelist for taking companies online, and everybody would get mad at me and say, yeah, but I'm a small business, I can't have websites. And I said, don't worry, one day you will. So there's a whole bunch of vendors and contractors and solution providers that can help all sorts of companies all over the world do booking and websites and currency and language translation. So do you see that happening?
Yeah.
I'm a little hotel, I can actually find somebody that...
Sure, I absolutely do. I think that there's going to be turnkey solutions that you're able to implement, where the systems can able to take your data and provide the same types of benefits that are unique to you, but leverage the tools that are out there.
And are we there yet, or is that around the corner?
To me, we are there. I think the tools are just going to get better and smarter, but we're starting to see implementations that you start to cookie cut and go, okay, I can do it here, I can do it here, I can do it there, and leverage those same tools.
Andy, you mentioned Concur is owned by SAP. It was acquired a little over a year ago, and Hipmunk was part of the Concur family. Are you working with Concur specifically about how to use AI in corporate travel and expense travel? And
well, I'm a Concur user, and I've been a Concur user even before it was owned by SAP. So I'm very happy with the platform because it just takes all the pain away from me, to be honest. Especially for frequent travelers, I mean, that's just...
How do you do an expense report without typing anything? So,
I mean, all the receipts are already in the system, more or less. I don't have to mail my paper receipts anymore. I mean, it's all basically... Sometimes if I'm getting a taxi receipt, I'm in a taxi, I take a picture of the receipt right there, it's sent it to Concur, it's in the system, at the end, I just more or less click a button. It knows exactly where I was, what I paid, what currency there was, and so it's totally painless.
So the Concur service in the cloud reads receipts?
It does.
And then it knows where you are, how much you spent, whether it was for food or transportation or things like that. Yeah.
We've started to get so dependent upon technology doing that. We don't know how to do it the old way anymore. Like, it's just made us so much more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ask me to mail in my paper receipts, I'd go crazy.
Yeah.
Just so many.
Most people would. Wayblazer has a lot of hotel companies and airlines, I think, as clients. What other categories travel industry categories are you getting clients in?
So right now we're focused on hotels and vacation packaging. We have a lot of interest from cruise lines because that's similar as well, and tours.
Yeah. What are some of the, on both sides, some of the new challenges you're trying to solve for with your respective companies' assets that just are on the brink of getting solved? So what's next? But what are you doing now that's still a big challenge?
I think it's not that these new technologies are so much the challenge. I think it's more the lack of creativity in most organizations that I see. People don't either spend the time or don't have the time or are not given the time to kind of think outside their typically day-to-day processes. We did a survey with Forrester a while ago, and that kind of came with the result that 80% of people's time and resources is just spent on keeping the lights on, which means that you have very little time to think sort of outside your current box that you're in. So there may be new technologies coming out around the corner every day. If I don't have the time to actually even look at it, I mean, there's very little chance that I actually leverage this. So I would think that decision makers, company leaders need to kind of give people time to think in these kind of new ways in order to actually have any benefits for them. Otherwise, you just keep doing what you're doing, and then nothing will really be changed, or forget transformation or digitalization. It's not happening.
So for us, I mentioned there before about...
How many years old is Wayblazer?
So we are 3 years old.
In your third year, okay.
So I mentioned there before about the different data sources. So for us, when we started, it was about understanding the traveler's trip intent, and that was declared. Someone would type in or tell us what their trip intent is. But it's now about also getting additional data sources so that we can provide even a more personalized, relevant recommendation. So whether that's CRM data, whether that's booking data, whether that's demographic data, social data, the more information you get, the more personalized the recommendations. And so that, to me, is our next challenge we're tackling.
I totally second that, because I mean, there's so many data outside your typical organization. Typically, organizations are looking at just transactional data, like which customer bought which product at what price to which channel, but all the other kind of external data are just not part of the picture. Weather data, for example. I mean, in particular for travel, I would think that weather is totally critical.
Absolutely.
So that means I could come back to ITB Berlin next year, and when I walk in and they scan my badge, I could get some kind of notification or announcement that I spent 90% of my time last year in hall 617, all the technology halls. I listened to the AI session, and here's some recommendations on which exhibitors to visit and what sessions really. Would that be pretty cool, or would that be too creepy? I think it'd be pretty cool.
I think people are starting to get used to creepy.
Yeah.
But anyway, the other step I want in that is to be able to say, I'm going to ITB next year. Book my flights, book my hotel based on what I did last year. Don't make me have to repeat all of that. The system should learn where you go, what you typically book, and be able to automate much more of that.
Because it is for this. We stay at this great boutique hotel in Berlin for many years, and this morning I asked them I'd like to book again for next year, and they actually said, "Oh, when is ITB next year?" And I'm thinking, you're a hotel in Berlin. Like,
You don't know that.
You shouldn't be asking me that question. Okay, I give you each 30 seconds to close, put your consulting hats on, and give the most discreet, usable piece of advice to our audience that you can muster.
Want to go first?
So I would say a couple things. So one, figure out an area where that you can, go for your low-hanging fruit. Don't try and solve the world. Figure out one place that you can start to address, that you can leverage data to be able to automate and improve your processes. And make sure you're focused on KPIs. What is the end result that you want to drive? Don't do AI for the AI's sake. Do it in order to drive business results.
So make sure you're measuring, you know what you're measuring before you start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From an SAP perspective, I would encourage organizations to kind of leverage these actually free design thinking workshops. Find 3 people in 3 different lines of business that are sort of having more like creative spirit, and let them come up with some kind of cool ideas what could be possible. So the art of the puzzle is really what you're after, not trying to kind of copy what everybody else has already done.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Noreen, Henry, Andy Bitterer, thank you both very much. Great session.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you so much.